Hello, my name is Alexander Hazel Gater, Nigaimore, Clevens, Malone, Chambers. My clan group, I'm originally from Cherbourg. I was born in Brisbane. I grew up at Cherbourg Aboriginal Community. My clan group on mum's side is from the Koa Nation out at Winton. On my father's side, the Wagajagalinga out at Claremont, Alpha Claremont. And on the grandfather Chambers from the Cook Imagey up at the Cooktown here. My faith and religion is I came from a Christian background. Growing up at Cherbourg, I give thanks to God for my beloved grandmother, who instilled the love of God in all our family at an early age. When I learned, about Jesus, I loved listening to the stories. And also my grandfather, Charlie, grandmother Nancy, grandfather Charlie, when he was forcibly removed and taken, and he was taken back to Yarrabah, where he went into, well, he was going into ministry as well. Yeah, that wasn't the both side of my family. Grandfather side of the family. My experience of church life, every Sunday we went to church. Like 5 days a week we went to school. Sunday we went to church. All the family went to church. A little Anglican church at Cherbourg, called the Anglican Holy Spirit Church at Cherbourg. We'd go to the 7 o'clock morning service every Sunday, then Sunday school in the afternoon, and then the evening service at night, 6 o'clock. So I loved going to church and listening to the stories, about Jesus. And about Jesus when I was a little girl. Well, to me, culture, it really wasn't that, in culture, that God was in our culture, was in Aboriginal culture. And what our ancestors, what we learned today has all been passed down, from generation to generation. And we didn't learn about our culture in school. We were taught it in the home, about strong family values, about respect, manners, and do not touch or take anything that doesn't belong to you. And it's about caring, like Aboriginal people, we are a spiritual race of people, a peaceful race of people, and a sharing and caring race of people. And that's how we all survive, by caring for each other, looking out for each other. No one was ever turned away. Somebody came to your home, you welcomed them into your home, and you fed them, and spend the night at your house, or you gave them something, to go home. So, yeah. Culture, I feel wasn't about culture, very strong about culture, yes. The most challenging in my life now is about putting something in place for the next generation. I'm glad I grew up, growing up at Cherbourg, we had a strict upbringing and a Christian upbringing. I hated the strict upbringing, but I loved the Christian upbringing. But today I get invited to speak at different venues, and what I tell of my experience and what I'm saying to the young people today, if it weren't for my teachings, I wouldn't know I have what I have today. What our elders, our old people were teaching us, they were preparing us for our journey in life, knowing they wouldn't be around to care for us, to watch over us, to protect us. In our household, our grandfather was our protector. And our uncles and our fathers and brothers were our protector. And it was the women in the household who cared for us, who cooked and cleaned and cared for us. And we never went to bed hungry. And what we were taught, and that's what I pass on today. And I'm glad that I had that teaching passed on to my children, they passed on to their children. And, after the community, when we invited the community to talk to the young ones about sitting and listening, what we did, we watched, we sat, we listened, and we learned. And as I said, we didn't learn about our culture in school. We were taught it in the home. And that's where the first teaching begins, in the home, before the children go to school at kindy. What I've learned, I learned many things, but one was growing up. When I was asked I'm going to do something, I did it. I didn't backchat my elders. I listened and I learned and I did as I was told. And this is what I'd like to see the young generation today. When you're asked to do something, to do it. Don't backchat. Don't backchat. Listen. Watch, listen, and learn, and do as you were told. And be respectful. And don't use any bad languages. you know, talk nice to them. It's about caring, you know, talk nice. Somebody hurt you, somebody was some just asked, you know, so, you know, don't abuse them, don't turn, you know, turn the other cheek, don't get abusive. Just say, I'm sorry, you know, what have I done? What can I do, you know, to make friends with you? And if you hurt someone, to say, look, I'm sorry. They are 2 little words, I'm sorry. You know, forgive me for what I said or done. Yeah. But what I'd like to see the young people today, you know, about going, you know, getting an education or do, you know, everybody's different, all the personalities, and some children are born very, others are not, you know, slow to learn, but I'd like to see, you know, others to achieve. If you find, you know, I go and ask for help, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to ask. You say, I don't understand, I don't. Because today what I'm noticing a lot about people in literacy, you know, a lot of our people are hurting, they're lost, they're lonely, they're hurting, and to ask, you know, don't be afraid to ask for help, and there is support available. I'd like to see how people go on to achieve, you know, learn. Like in sports, academic, you know, across the board, where a lot of our people, they weren't acknowledged or recognised or respected. Now today I'd like to see the young people now going out, will be noticed in sport, where they're being recognised and respected, and for that to be passed on, you know, generation. Go and ask for help, don't be afraid, don't be ashamed. Go and ask. You know, some of you know, some of you trust, some of you feel safe with. Go and ask, yes. I came from a Christian background. And when I left Cherbourg, got married at a young age. My husband was killed in a car accident. I became a widow. I came to Brisbane to live, and the things I faced was racism, trying to go find accommodation. But then I just went on, you know. I was a sole parent, cared for the children, and then later I met, you know, within a relationship, then I met and married Jeff, and we got together. And we were invited to a church called Anglican Holy Trinity Church at Woolloongabba. We've heard about this Aboriginal pastor who was trying to start a ministry here in Brisbane. So some of the elders who live at Ipswich and around the Brisbane area and the north side, pardon me, and members of our family, we got together and we met at the Anglican Holy Trinity Church at Woolloongabba. So that's where it started. And I remember Jeff and I, when we walked into the church for the first time, we were overcome with this most beautiful feeling passed through me. This most beautiful feeling passed through me. And as we went to sit down, we were the only 2 sitting in the seats, and we went up to get the Holy Communion. You know, the Holy Communion is called the Lord's Supper, the Eucharist, or the Lord's Supper, Holy Communion. We'd gone up to the Holy Communion, we came back and we sat in the seats, and I felt someone sitting next to me. And Jeff later shared with me that somebody was sitting next to him. He said the hairs on his arms stood, he said. And each time I went back to that church, the same thing would happen. And this most beautiful feeling would pass. And at this time now, this was a calling coming from the Lord, calling me into the church. And my first reaction was, Lord, please don't call me, I'm a nobody. The Lord called me, he continued to. So I'd gone and I told my 2 mums, my biological mum and the mum who raised me, told them that this calling I had from the Lord to go into ministry. They said to me, your grandmother would be pleased, he said, and they both gave their blessing. So I went and I found out about this theology studies in Darwin, at Noongalinga College in Darwin. So I applied that, and what it was, you could either live in or go up there for, it's a short term, wasn't 4 times a year. So I sat out, I had to talk to Jeff. So Jeff also gave him permission. So at this time I had children at home going to high school, so I'd do all the, you know, cooking and cleaning and everything before I left. And then I flew to Darwin for the first time. It was a culture shock for me going up there for the first time, but meeting, you know, people from other parts. First of all, it was the Queenslanders who went, and other sides. So I had a beautiful experience going there 4 times a year and learning, you know, learning about the Lord, learning about ministry. And the other thing they were teaching us now, going into ministry, and, you know, I was one of these people, very shy. I'd sit at the back of the room, no matter where I was, I always sit at the back. And they were teaching us now going into ministry, and how would you get up there to preach the gospel? So yes, from that then I went there 4 times, and I graduated. I received my certificate, and then later on diploma, and then I had to meet with the Anglican Church now, because it was I was under the Anglican banner. So I met with my clergy, and so they supported me. So that's how I was ordained. I became a deacon in 1997 at St John's Cathedral here in Brisbane, and then I was ordained an Anglican priest in 2004. So I became the first Aboriginal woman in Queensland to be ordained into the Anglican Church. So just, was it April? It was 20 years anniversary for all the women going into ministry. And and from that ministry, we asked to join this group called the Anglican Network, isn't it? Anglican, people from all around Australia, but they're all under the Anglican Church. I represent Brisbane. We all had to represent different. I didn't want to represent Brisbane. No, you live in Brisbane, we appointed you. So I was appointed. So we'd meet in various parts of Australia once a year, if funding allowed, and talk about what's happening in our community across the board. So somebody mentioned about the prison ministry, and at that time there was only one Aboriginal man working in the prisons, going in as a chaplain. And so someone asked me if I was interested. So yeah, I said I put my hand up to go into ministry. So from that ministry, I visited all the prisons, male and female. So I did that work for how long? 30 years. 30 years as a chaplain in visiting all the prisons. You know, spiritual, having Christmas, Easter, special occasion, memorial service. It was just a NAIDOC celebrations. I just felt it was challenging and rewarding, and just seeing the other side of our men and women in the prisons and greeting them, sitting down and spending time with them, let them know that Jesus loves them. Jesus don't like what we do, but that unconditional love of the Father of His Son, about them, changing their ways, stop their offending behaviour. You come from a good family, good home, and a lot of them I knew their families, knew where they came from, and so I developed a beautiful relationship. So one from that, I was asked to fish out at a wedding, young fellow, and I became their nana, their auntie, their cousin, but their friend. And so from that ministry, I would visit the hospitals, all the hospitals, Princess Alexandra Hospital, the Royal Brisbane, Prince Charles, the Mater, over there and ministering to people who've been flown in, given them the last rites. There was one at the Princess Alexandra Hospital. There were 3 Jeffreys at the Princess Alexandra Hospital in the intensive care. One Jeffrey was our grandson, and the other 2 was flown in a serious accident. 3 of them weren't expected to live. They called in all the families. I'd gone in, I spent time with them, I prayed over each Jeffrey. I prayed over them, prayed over their families. The 3 boys survived. Another young fellow was in a motorbike accident. He was told he'd never walk again. I prayed over that young boy. He walked out of the hospital. So one of the gifts the Lord gave me was healing, to heal people. And I thank the dear Lord, because where He's taken me, when I said, oh Lord, please don't send me there. And going to the prison, you'd walk in there, the door would close behind you when I went in there for the first time. And other places I've gone to, the door would close behind you, other places, but I just felt. And today, I've taken funerals throughout Queensland, throughout South-East Queensland, even just over the border there in New South Wales, taken funerals, weddings. How many weddings? About 7 weddings I've officiated around the Brisbane area, the North Sunshine Coast, up north side of Brisbane, all around Brisbane. Baptism, And where my ministry has taken us, well, the shirt I'm wearing now, it's called Walkabout Aboriginal Ministry, going to where God's people are at, in the prisons, in the parks, in the hospitals, in the homes, and out in the wider community. And well, think about what Jesus did. Jesus went walkabout. He didn't do all his ministry in the synagogue. He went out to the people. And when the people heard him, they came. And I was able to go to the Holy Land a few years ago and go where Jesus did his ministry and where he was baptised in the River Jordan. So I thank the dear Lord for where I am today. I give thanks to God that I'm, still here today. I'm still standing, still walking, but at this time, when you said you have to step down and retire, but in our ministry you don't retire, people still. The other thing I want to raise, and with respect to the Anglican Church, respect to everyone, I chose not to wear a collar. In all the churches, you notice the Anglicans, Catholics, they wear a collar. I chose not to wear a collar in honour of my ancestors. My ancestors had a collar around their neck and it was a chain, and that's when they were led by this chain. That was very heartbreaking for me to witness that and hear that. So I chose not to wear a collar. And I did raise this. Some of them weren't happy about it, but they accepted it, and that's what I am today. But I know I accept the Lord, and I wear the Lord. The Lord is with me. And one of my favourites is John so loved the world that God sent his only begotten Son into the world, Jesus. And the other cousin from Philippines, I had a brother once say to me, Christian brother, sister, where does all your strength come from? I said, all my strength comes from the Lord. And in the Philippines, it's got, I can do anything through him who strengthens me. So that's where all my strength comes from, the Lord. So even tragedies happen in our family, I still give thanks to the Lord. Still give thanks to God. When I was sick, I still give thanks to God. So every day, I pray to the Lord. So I'm blessed. And you see the sign up on the door there? Open the door there, a little sign, yes. So I acknowledge the Lord and I thank the Lord for where I am today. And every day I get up and give him thanks and praise, for this beautiful day and what he showed me. And I told you about that symbol. I'd like to share that. I was sitting on my back patio and it was very overcast. You could not see the sky. And I was sitting out there, I don't know, I'm just looking up in the sky, just looking up and staring, just looking. All of a sudden, this little hole opened up in the clouds, a little hole, and then the little hole got bigger and bigger, and it became a big love heart. And I stood up and I said, thank you, Lord, thank you, I love you too, thank you, Lord, I love you too. So what the Lord has shown me, I was invited to attend this World Indigenous Christian Gathering, started by a Maori couple in New Zealand, where they were told to go around the world to bring all these Indigenous people to the place of the long white cloud. That's Rotorua, Aotearoa in New Zealand. And the couple, they went around the world, and Australia was the last country they visited. And when there was a few of us went to meet with them, and when they told us of this gathering in New Zealand, I said to them, I would love to come to your gathering. And his wife answered, sister, what she said to me, sister, you will come in faith. So I went to the gathering and I said, Lord, I've got no money. I'd like to go to this gathering in New Zealand. Checks they would arrive in the mail. No address on the back. And I went to New Zealand. The first conference was held in New Zealand, the second one in Hawaii, the third Australia, Sydney, Australia, the fourth in Kiruna, 200 kilometres from the Arctic Circle. The fifth one was held up here in Indonesia, the place there. And the 6th one was held in the Philippines, and the 7th one was back in the Holy Land, and the 8th one was back in New Zealand. I went to all of them, 8 of them. And when we went back to New Zealand, the Australians, we were the last to speak. And I stood up on the stage and I just said to the sister that, remember, sister, you said to me when you and your husband went around the world and brought all these people to New Zealand for the Well Indigenous Christian gathering, when I said to you, I would love to come to your gathering, you said to me, sister, you will come in faith. What I say to you today, sister, I went in faith. All the conference around the world, I went in faith. I said to the Lord, Lord, I have no money, I want to go to this gathering. And He made a way. Checks would arrive in the mail. Another thing I want to share with you, one more thing. There was an incident happening where the police was harassing Aboriginal people. And one of my issues now is justice. Justice, social justice, humane treatment of Aboriginal people, not just Aboriginal, but all people. Aboriginal people were being harassed by the police. So we called a big meeting at Anala, and Marandu Yana was a guest speaker here of Australia, and I invited him to come to the gathering. We'd gone to the gathering, it was held at Anala. It was held at Anala. All I had was $20. That's all I had. I said to my husband, Jeff, could you go to the shops, tea and coffee and a packet of biscuits and milk? That's all I had. Nothing. We went to the gathering, everything was all set up, table and chair, everybody, all the people were there. And one of the aunties says, I want to thank you, that was the first time anything like that ever happened in an island. There were no policemen around, no one. Not even PLO. The room was packed. And everybody got up to speak. We spoke. I thanked everybody for coming. As we walked in, this lady next door from the library said, we just had a meeting and we heard you having a meeting here. We got all this food left over. We got, oh yes, all this food she made. Fresh food and fruit. So everybody all had a good, so when everybody went, we thanked everybody. We thanked everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you. Come and have something to eat. No? Family travelled all the way from New South Wales to come to the gathering. So anyway, as we were cleaning up, packing everything away, this little old lady came up and she put this in my hand. And she looked at me and said, thank you. I said, thank you, thank you. Usually I put things down, but over there, added in my hand, I'll go and help it clean up, putting everything away. And as we were coming home, my husband driving, daughter sitting at the back, I opened up the envelope and here's $740, more than $100 notes. 7. What's the word? The Lord's word? 7. The Lord's number 7. So what I gave came back to me. Gave my last, came back, I was blessed. So yeah. So that's just one of many stories that I could share here today. So thank you. Thank you.